Welcome back to my series that is a deep dive into the TikTok ban, the litigation that's happening. Tomorrow, Friday, January 10th, we're going live for the Supreme Court oral arguments. I'm going to stream those. I'll provide commentary, answer any questions that you might have. But today, we're going to talk about amicus briefs. What is an amicus brief? Amicus means friend of the court. All kinds of people, organizations, government officials will file an amicus brief with the court. The court presumably reads those briefs, and it could potentially impact their decision. Let's go through who has filed an amicus brief in the TikTok case. On behalf of the petitioners, that's going to be TikTok, ByteDance, and the 9 creators that filed suit. There were 11 amicus briefs. Professor Matthew Stylin, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, a professor at SUNY Buffalo School of Law, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, the Institute for Justice, and the Reason Foundation, they filed a joint brief. ACLU, Electronic Frontier Foundation, and Knight First Amendment Institute at Columbia University filed a joint brief. Some members of Congress filed a joint brief. Senator Edward Markey of Massachusetts, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, and Senator Ro Khanna of California, who followed me today. The Cato Institute, something called Floor 64 Inc. DBA, the Copia Institute. I researched that a little bit because I'd never heard of it. There's some sort of like digital and technology think tank. This one's my favorite. Chris Sansperito, who's a family law attorney in Florida. He submitted that as a TikTok user. Just a regular user like me and you. He said that he uses it, his wife uses it, and his daughter uses it. He is also admitted to practice before the United States Supreme Court, so he filed a brief. I love it. A couple of national security professors named Aronson, Edgar, and Klein. A group of First Amendment and Internet law professors. There were 35 of them, and there were some really big heavy hitters in there. Law professors at Yale and at Harvard, including Mr. Erwin Chemerinsky. Most of y'all have probably never heard of Erwin Chemerinsky, but I sure have, because you know why? He wrote my textbook. He wrote literally the book on constitutional law. The one that most law students use in law school. His name is right here at the top. Professor Milton Mueller, who researches cybersecurity, and a group of social and racial justice nonprofits. There were 15 of them in all. Now let's go through who filed a brief on behalf of the respondents. That's going to be on behalf of the government. First of all, Senator Mitch McConnell, no surprise there. Americans Advancing Freedom, a nonprofit think tank that advances traditional American values, whatever the heck those are. A group of nonprofits that all seem to be anti-China. The chairman of the Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the United States and Chinese Communist Party, John R. Molinar, who's a member of the U.S. House from Michigan, and the ranking member of that same committee, Raja, I am not going to attempt that name, who is in the United States House from Illinois. Zephyr Teachout, who's a law professor at Fordham, and Joel Thayer, who's president of the Digital Progress Institute, the American Free Enterprise Chamber of Commerce, a group of states that was led by Montana and Virginia, 19 former national security officials, most of them are former directors of some agency or another, or undersecretaries, from agencies such as the CIA, the Secretary of State, the NSA, the Homeland Security, etc. 2 former attorney generals were on that list. Former FCC and Treasury officials, there's only 2 of them, the former chair of the FCC and the former chair of CFIUS. CFIUS is the group that negotiated with ByteDance about the national security agreement that would have avoided this whole TikTok ban. And the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, which is a nonprofit that is focused on national security and foreign policy. And finally, there were 3 amicus briefs that addressed like some specific issue but didn't support either party. One is Asian Americans Advancing Justice and the Fred Korematsu Center for Law and Equity, Forum for Constitutional Rights, and finally, President-elect Donald Trump, who just said, please put a pause on the law and I'll figure it out.